So listen, I was playing through the new Pokemon DLC, Indigo Disk, and I'm getting quizzed on the best place to snuggle a Granbull. And I'm like, that's a great piece of content. So welcome everyone. This is going to be the best tier list ever because we are going to be ranking all of the Pokemon in the new Pokemon DLC Indigo Disk based on how cuddly they are. And I cannot tell you how long I have been waiting to do this. I am a professional Pokemon plush collector, and I feel like I am the perfect person for the job. I can't wait. The task is simple. We're going to be taking all of the returning Pokemon in the Indigo Disk, as well as the new Pokemon that are a part of the decks, and putting them into a tier list, where S tier is the cuddliest of the cuddliest, and F tier is absolutely hard no, pass, don't want to do it. That is not going to be a fun experience. So let's get started. Okay, well first up we have to start with the inspiration of this video, which is Lacey's Granbull. And I've got to say, I think Granbull is definitely a D tier Pokemon. That's not really a cuddly Pokemon. When I looked at it, the tummy didn't even cross my mind as the place that you would try to put your head. I was like, oh, well maybe it's the ear, or maybe it's the jaw. No, I just don't think that that's going to be a cuddly experience. So that's going to be D tier for me. C tier only if you consider the fact that it probably has a lot of body heat, in which case that might make for a nice warm cuddle. But I digress. Snubbull is a little spoon. I actually think you get an upgrade if you are trying to snuggle a Snubbull. So that's gonna be C tier for me. Okay, the Oddish line is weird. I gotta say that Oddish is a B tier. I feel like it could be soft because the leaves are pretty silky, but ultimately might have a little bit of a hard body, so I feel like it wouldn't actually be super comfortable to cuddle. Gloom, F tier. Absolutely F tier. That thing is drooling all over you. That thing is also probably smells bad. Absolutely not. Vileplume, maybe a D tier. I think Vileplume is a D tier only because those petals look really soft, but I also think that it probably smells better than Gloom, but ultimately not a cuddly experience. You're like laying next to that Pokemon or on top of that Pokemon, not actually cuddling it. Tentacool. Tentacle's B tier. I genuinely think that they might be really squishy and fun to snuggle. So I'm gonna say that Tentacool is a B tier. Tentacruel, on the other hand, is a C tier. It's probably still the same type of squishy, but that's too many tentacles. I don't like that. Seal. Now that's a fun cuddle. Seal is definitely A tier. Seal's an A tier, if only because it's probably really soft and it also is just so tiny and so cute. That has to be an A tier. Dugong is a big upgrade though, so I think Dugong is going to be my first S tier. That is a Pokemon deserving of an S tier. It is all the blubber, it is all the silky fur. I can only imagine it, and that is definitely going to be an S tier cuddle for sure. Execute is an F tier. I wouldn't want to cuddle an egg. Executor, that's also gonna be an F tier. Executor is like a palm tree or a saw palm. The first thing that I think of when I see Executor is a saw palm. That's probably gonna hurt you if you cuddle it. That's pokey, that's prickly, that's gonna like scrape your skin. Absolutely not. F tier. Rhyhorn, D tier. Rhydon, also a D tier. Rhyperior, that's an F tier. That's outside of cuddle size. That actually is just you're sitting on a boulder. Unfun. Oh, there's like actually a lot of new Pokemon. We have some fairy Pokemon. We've got Milcery. I would consider that a C tier. Pretty mid. It's probably really soft and smells sweet, but it might also be kind of sticky. So I'm gonna say C tier because you never know. Alcremie, also a solid C tier. I could see it going both ways, of it being very nice to cuddle or very uncomfortable. Minccino, that's an A tier. That is so soft and so fluffy, best cuddle ever. That is an A tier cuddle Pokemon. You love it. Chinchino is an S tier. Okay, Chinchino is an S tier. That has to be the cuddliest. When you think about chinchillas and you think about how soft they are, they have such silky fur. They also clean themselves. Even if it's a dust bath, they're still clean. So you know that the cuddle is going to be super comfortable, very fluffy, super kawaii, fua, all of the above. S tier, amazing, perfect, no notes. Cottony, A tier. Something about these fairy types, I'm telling you, they are all very cuddly Pokemon. except for Gramble. Whimsicott, also an S tier. That's just a big pillow. Why are you using Gramble? Why are you not using Whimsicott? It's also a fairy type, and you are a fairy type Elite Four. Just use the Whimsicott. It's better. She actually has one on her team, but she doesn't cuddle it. Shame on you. How could I forget about Blossom? Blossom is definitely a B tier. Huge improvement over the rest of the Oddish line. Probably very soft. Definitely smells good because those are cute flowers. So I'm gonna say that that's a B tier. Doesn't get any better than that for the Oddish line. Blossom did solid. Chinchou? D tier. Lantern? Also D tier. Porygon? F tier. That's cold, hard, shiny plastic. And I can't see anything else than that. Where's the other Porygon? Can't find it. Porygon 2? This might shock you, but B tier. I think Porygon 2 is B tier, if only because I feel like it's one of those Pokemon that would be susceptibly cuddly. It's probably not soft, but it looks ergonomic. Like if you were to put your neck into the crook of its arm, and it's like one of those orthopedic pillows. I just feel like it's the perfect head and neck rest. So I'm gonna say that Porygon 2 is a B tier. Porygon Z, even better. Except this time its arms are detached from the body, so it might be more room for you to get even more ergonomical. So A tier. Porygon Z is A tier. Solosis, D tier. It's just a booger. Duosion is also D tier because it's just more booger. And Reuniclus is F tier because that's just all lot of burgers. It's not burgers, it's boogers! Reuniclus is a lot of boogers. F tier. I think by default, all of the rock-type Pokemon need to be D tier or worse. I just don't think rock-type Pokemon are cuddly. They're just hard rock. I think Steel might also fall into that category. So Cranidos, D tier. Rampardos, F tier. Shieldon, D tier. Bastiodon, F tier. Drillbur. Oh, it's so cute. That's a B tier. Drillbur's cute. I feel like he's like one of the things that you could cuddle in the crook of your arm. So Drillbur is a B tier. Excadrill is a F tier. That's probably not very cuddly. Golett, D tier. Golurk, B tier. I think it would keep you pretty safe. You would be a good little spoon for a Golurk. Minior is an F tier. I don't think you can cuddle that. It's also like the size of your palm. I don't think so. But Comfy is A tier. Comfy feels like it would be like a scarf, so like a warm hug for your neck. I think Comfy would be an A tier. That probably feels very soft and very warm and very comforting. It's also in the name, so A tier. Duraludon, that is an F tier. That does not look like a comfortable Pokemon. It is also probably cold steel. It is a dragon type, so maybe it is a little warm, but I doubt it. It's actually just a skyscraper. That's not comfortable. That is an F tier Pokemon. Not a good cuddle. Hard pass. Archaludon, however, now hear me out. I actually think that Archaludon is a B tier cuddle. It basically becomes a bed. You see the animation when it attacks, it kind of makes this staple remover shape and then it flattens back out into the bridge. And I actually feel like that might be a little comfortable to nap on. So I feel like in terms of cuddle potential, Archaludon is getting there. It's almost there, not quite there, but still a B tier. Solid B tier. I would, but not by choice. Now we have the humanoid Pokemon. I'm not really sure how to categorize these. I'm gonna lump all of the humanoid Pokemon and just say they are in their own separate category. If you like that, you like that. If you don't, you don't. And then there's Smeargle. I actually don't think that F tier is low enough for a Pokemon like Smeargle. I can't get over the fact that this thing ruined my competitive career by using Dark Void over and over and over. I have nightmares about this Pokemon. Smeargle deserves its own category, its own little box of jail. What even is that Pokemon? What is it? It's supposed to be an artist, but what is it painting with? Where did that green stuff come from? Why does it have a hat? Is that hat actually its flesh? Is it actually wearing a hat? Is it even humanoid? Maybe we won't go that hard in this Smeargle. Poor thing probably doesn't deserve that hate. And moving on, Doduo, pretty fluffy, B tier. Dodrio, pretty fluffy, pretty sharp beaks, C tier. Horsey, B tier, but tiny. Seadra, C tier. Kingdra, also C tier. Skarmory is F tier. Those are razor sharp wings. Trapinch, A tier. It's very arm holdable. Vibrava, D tier. Flygon, also D tier. Feebas, C tier. Milotic, that's a B tier. Maybe very warm. Does know how to use Scald. Beldum is D tier. Metang is also D tier. Metagross, though, that's one of my favorite Pokemon, but I think that's also a D tier. I wouldn't want to cuddle that. But I love it so much, so C tier. Blitzel C tier. Zebstrika, D tier. Joltik and Galvantula are both... No, I have to change that. Joltik, B tier. Galvantula, A tier. Now listen, Joltik and Galvantula do not necessarily look like the cuddliest of Pokemon, and when you look at the fact that they are dual bug and electric type, probably aren't super appealing to cuddle either. But they're super fluffy. I just imagine them being kind of like a comical amount of furry. So even though it looks like a tarantula, I think Galvantula would actually be a little bit soft. And who knows, maybe the electricity is a little nice. It keeps you a little warm, a little fuzzy. I low-key think that Galvantula would be a very good cuddle. On the other side, you have arachnid Pokemon like Dewpider and Araquanid, and neither of those look particularly cuddly. I think that they're both going to go into the F tier. Araquanid doesn't look soft. Dewpider doesn't look soft. It's like also too small to be cuddly. It's cute, but it's not a good cuddle. So Dewpider, Araquanid, both in F tier you go. Esper, A tier. Yeah, that's a solid cuddly Pokemon. Meowstic, B tier. A little less so. Esper is so derpy. It's just so cute. It just looks like it's so no thoughts, head empty. All it wants is to be hugged. Pikipek, B tier. Like a cute little like snuggle up to your face kind of moment. Trumbeak, C tier. Toucanon, also D tier. It gets worse as the bird gets bigger. Cosmog, I might have a little bit of bias because of how Lily holds the Cosmog, but I think that Cosmog is a solid A tier cuddle. Cosmoem, definitely not. You're starting to get into a little bit of like sharp territory, so I think that's gonna end up being all the way down into D tier. Then you have Solgaleo, Lunala, and Necrozma. And I feel like all three of these need to be treated with the same amount of respect, which is D tier, because they don't look cuddly at all. But they're also legendary Pokemon, so that gives them like a tiny buff. Inkay, B tier. Malamar, I think Malamar is C tier. Might actually be kind of cuddly. Is that all the normal Pokemon? I think so. Lapras! Lapras is D tier. That's not a good cuddle. Unless I want to use our Chaludon logic, in which case I think Lapras might actually be more like an A tier, because you get a chance to just lounge around and have a quick snooze. Lapras, you know, is going to take a good watchful eye of you, so you're going to be safe. But that's not really cuddling, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of cuddle as a definition. But I'll stick with it. Lapras is a B tier. Or did I say A tier? Lapras is A and B tier. It can be both. And now we have all the starter Pokemon. I feel like these are going to be the hardest, because I feel like a lot of where I view the starter Pokemon is all based on how I viewed them in the anime. And so that's really what I have to go off of. Bulbasaur, easy A tier. That's gonna be a great cuddle. I also have the best Bulbasaur plush, so I feel like that's another coin into the bias bucket. Bulbasaur is an A tier. Ivysaur, B tier. Venusaur, D tier. Squirtle, A tier. Wartortle, also A tier. Blastoise, D tier. Chikorita, A tier. It's just a cute little bean. I just have to squish its cheeks. Bayleaf, D tier. And Meganium, though, I think that's a C tier. That petal around its neck is probably pretty soft. It would make a good cuddle. I look at it as kind of like a scarf, like a Minccino scarf. Totodile, C tier. Croconaw, D tier. And Feraligatr is F tier. The Trico line is the same pattern. Trico is C tier, Grovyle is D tier, and Sceptile is F tier. Torchic is A tier. Combuskin, also A tier. I think it would be a fluffy little nugget. And Blaziken is a B tier. Blaziken is a B tier. No, Blaziken is D tier. I would put it higher, except it has chicken arms, so I feel like it doesn't actually give you a good full warm embrace. It's just sticks, which isn't comfortable. Mudkip is B tier. I think the cheeks would get in the way. Marshtomp, I don't really care if the cheeks are in the way. That is an A tier cuddle for sure. Swampert, on the other hand, that's F. Okay, you're probably wondering why we're skipping some. And that's because some of these starters were already in the game. So I'm cheating, and we're not gonna go over the starters that are already there. This video would take way too long. Snivy, B tier. Servine, also a B tier. Serperior, surprisingly A tier. It has to bask in the sun. It is a grass snake. It's inherently gonna be really warm, and it also just looks soft. So A tier. Surprising A tier. Tepig is A tier. Pignite is D tier. And Emboar is F tier. Poplio, B tier. Brionne, also a B tier. And Primarina, I think would be surprisingly cuddly. I think that would also be A tier. It's got like the big flippers for like a full embrace. I don't really know how to categorize these. Litten is A tier. It is a cat. Inherently, that is a very cuddly Pokemon. Torracat is B tier. It looks a little too angry. It might scratch you, but it's also still a cat. Incineroar, though. One of the last things we need to do is we need to rank the new Pokemon that are in Indigo Disk. So, Hydrapple, that's a D tier. I don't think it's cuddly. Actually, I'm just gonna put that F tier. That's not cuddly, doesn't look cute. That's just not cuddly. Terrapagos, I think Terrapagos is B tier. It looks really cuddly, but then I realized that it's also all about terrestrialization, which is crystallized. So I feel like it's not actually that soft, but it has a big heart, so I feel like it has to be B tier. Bias. We also have all the new Paradox legendaries. Iron Crown, D tier, probably pretty cold hard steel. Iron Boulder, for the same reason as I listed off the rest of the steel and the rock type Pokemon, is also going to end up being an F tier. It is just a hard rock. It's also a future Paradox Pokemon, which I feel like inherently is already way less cuddly than their past counterparts. So it's already just got points against it. And then we have Gouging Fire. I really don't know how to classify Gouging Fire because I feel like Gouging Fire is modern day Entei. That's the only thing that I can see. But it also has this giant crest on its head that I feel like makes it more intimidating and way less of a cuddle. For that reason, I think I have to put it into B tier because modern day Entei for me is absolutely an A tier cuddle. That is a super fluffy doggo. Definitely gonna be a good cuddle, and Gouging Fire is so close yet also so far. And then we have my favorite Paradox legendary out of the entire bunch, and that's Raging Bolt. This thing definitely S tier cuddle. This is the best legendary that they have put into the game yet. I do not care if this thing is over 5 meters tall. I feel like it, regardless, is going to be very cuddly. It has a cloud baked into its design. Clouds are fluffy. Clouds are soft. Clouds are definitely going to be cuddly. So Raging Bolt, A++ in my book. That is an S tier cuddle. Perfect cuddle Pokemon. So I guess that means we should rank the rest of the legendary Pokemon that are returning in the Indigo Disk DLC. So I think I already mentioned Cosmoem, Solgaleo, Lunala, Necrozma, that whole line. So I guess working my way backwards, Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem are all in F tier. Those are not going to be cuddly Pokemon. Much like their future counterparts, I also think that Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion are also all F tier cuddle. Keldeo is a B tier cuddle. It's probably a pretty cuddly Pokemon, all things considered. Latias and Latios are D tier. Deoxys? That's an S tier cuddle. Deoxys is literally the DNA Pokemon. It can become whatever you want it to be. So if I want it to be an S tier cuddle, therefore, it can be an S tier cuddle. Moving on to the Reggie trio, we've got Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. And I think that Registeel and they're all F tier. They're literally made out of the 3 most uncomfortable elements. That they were already born failures. Did I say that? Lugia and Ho-Oh are hard. On the one hand, they are flying type Pokemon that are very bird-like, so they're probably not all that cuddly. But on the other hand, they're also pretty conscious. So I feel like they could give you an emotional hug, which is very underrated. You know that one person that you have in your life, maybe it's a couple people, maybe you're really lucky, and they're the type of person that kind of always knows what to say to you when you need it. And I think that Lugia and Ho-Oh both fall under that category as being the best support emotional pillow that you could have. So I think Lugia and Ho-Oh are both A tier. Lugia might be S tier. I'm giving Lugia S tier. We've seen that have way more consciousness than Ho-Oh. That is the best emotional hug you could ever get. And now we have the modern day variants, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. As I said, Entei, A tier. So easy to call that an A tier. It's gonna be warm, fluffy, perfect cuddle Pokemon. Suicune, I also think could be A tier. I feel like that's another Pokemon that would be surprisingly cuddly. Raikou, on the other hand, though, while it appears to be very cuddly, I do think that you would constantly get shocked just by the pure amount of static electricity that would be built up in Raikou's fur. So I'm gonna say that Raikou is actually D tier. I don't think that that would be very comfortable. But you do it because it's still like a big pillow, but it's gonna shock you the whole time. You could choose. Okay, I don't know how I forgot about this, but we also have to classify Plusle and Minun. Together, I think they suffer from the same problem that I feel like a lot of the electric-type Pokemon would suffer from, which is that they just have so much pent-up electricity that if you snuggle them the wrong way, they're just going to electrocute you. So I think that sadly, while I feel Plusle and Minun are very fluffy, I'm gonna have to give them a C tier rating. They're so cute, they're probably so cuddly, but I would get annoyed one too many times by getting electrically shocked by them. So sadly, they are C tier, which is depressing, honestly. Well, that's it. That's gonna be Nekkra's official cuddly tier list, where we ranked every single Pokemon that is returning and new in the Indigo Disk DLC. Let me know if you agreed with me in the comments below. If you didn't, then that's your problem, because this is my tier list and I can do what I want with it. No, but seriously, let me also know what your thoughts are about how cuddly you think these Pokemon are. Maybe I missed one that came in from a different part of the game, like the base game or even the first part of the DLC. But regardless, I hope you all had fun. I really enjoyed making this video and thinking about all the different ways that I feel like Pokemon can be really fluffy, and also hopefully I am giving Pokemon Company a few ideas for maybe some new plush that they should come out with, because yeah, I think my apartment could totally use another one. It really could use another one. It should absolutely happen. Pokemon Center, I am begging you, please make another jumbo-sized plushie. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, fine. Incineroar's A tier. There, I said it.